Hello. I hope you guys are having a blessed up Monday and that you're utilizing your Monday, whether you are on or you're off. There is always work behind the work. So hopefully you're being productive and efficient and aligning yourself towards getting you a little bit closer towards how you want to look, how you want to feel, and how you ultimately want to show up in your business, your life, and your relationship. For those of you I'm just meeting for the first time, my name is Tanya Oliver. I'm a life coach for elite entrepreneurs and high achievers, just really striving to become mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually healthy and strong AF so that you can go ahead and be leaders in the world. So today we're going to be talking about one I think really is fascinating, and I did get caught up in it's called a cycle. Hold on, let me see. It's called the heck is the name of it? It was like a stress reward cycle, like the terminology of it. Pleasure to meet you. So it's called a stress reward cycle that I got caught in last week when my car got towed. But before I share that with you, today is all about no creating chaos or drama for entertainment, excitement, or thrill to avoid peace. This is a big one because I even catch myself before it happens, and I had to work really hard on this. A lot of people talk about addiction. We talk about addiction to substances, to people, to places, to things, but we don't talk about the addiction to emotions. And before there's an addiction to a substance, which a substance is really just a tool. What tools are you using to help you process your pain, to help you gain relief, whether it being an instant moment or typically they're not long term, but there's like that instant gratification. You know what I'm talking about, whether it being food, whether it being alcohol, whether it being drugs, whether it being sex, whether it being whatever it is that you know is really harming you for the long game. And that is where you know we have an attachment to something. So it makes you, what happens is when you're looking for reasons to create chaos or reasons to get like a dopamine and endorphin high, what happens is it makes you secrete endorphins, which are pain suppressants. A lot of people, when they're taking certain prescription, it's because they're in, whether it being physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain, even spiritual pain that leads to physical pain, right? So dis-ease is a dis-ease and uneasiness in our body and uneasiness in our nervous system. And so we seek pleasure-inducing things that allows addiction to drug. So the main reason why you're wanting someone, you know that you might cause drama or you create a scene out of a situation where it doesn't need to go there. This is typically what happens is we're creating a space of seeking stimulation. We're looking for adventure. What's up, Karen? We're seeking adventure. We're seeking stimulation. We're seeking whatever it may be to seek. And so we're creating unnecessary drama or chaos because it leads to something that is desired for the long game. Hey, Erica. So it's like, so I'll give an example. Last week, I was in such a good vibe. It was Friday. And I took this hot Pilates class and I'm in this vibe and I'm walking outside and I'm like, where's my car? So my car is gone. My car got towed and to be fought tomorrow because everything's closed. So to be, continue tomorrow. And I'm sharing this story and I'm getting all hyped and I'm noticing like I'm getting like a rush. I'm getting like this rush, like complaining and dramatizing. And I did it with like just a few people. And then I caught myself. I'm like, whoa, this thing is real. So the more aware you become, the more that you become aware of how your body responds, how you react. And you're like, wow, I could totally see how I could be hooked or get addicted to why people are creating chaos or why we're creating drama. Even if you work so hard in your personal growth and development, there are things that happen biochemically in our body that fulfill a basic need. And when you're in this space of personal growth and development, if you don't have a healthy toolbox of healthy stimulation and things to give you adventure that are not self-destructive, you're going to seek things, even it being a conversation, to create and stir some type of thing up. But then you realize, like, wait a second, I feel like a heaviness in my heart. I feel like a negativity in my body. I feel like I don't feel good. It feels good in the moment and you feel this high because it does release endorphins, which is a pain suppressant chemically in our body. Our bodies are so amazing, you guys. Let me just tell you for a second. every drug and prescription that you seek out outside of yourself, which has its placement and timing, the body can do. And it's interesting because when you actually pay attention to where you're seeking and when it happens, and the more, that's why taking care of our body is so important, because you can feel these things happening and you can catch it and you can course correct it and you can shape shift it. And I'm going to give you some ways of how to transition that, is that you can, for example, like even when you're seeking out like movies, like when people are looking to, they're watching movies for the suspense and the adventure and the excitement and the high that we receive in the body, it's like, live your own movie. And that's what I've been realizing too. I was like, oh, I want to watch that movie. I was like, why? Because I'm trying to escape my own. Where am I feeling pain? Where am I feeling disconnect? Where am I wanting to shut my mind off? Where can I generate that energy in a space where I can still quiet my mind, but it still allows me to leave fulfilled? Because one thing I realize is every time I watch a movie, I'm still left in the same situation as when I started it, as to the original reason as to why I wanted to escape reality. And it's something in Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I got to experience a few years ago with his walking meditations, is it's you create your own virtual reality in your meditation practice. Your meditation practice is a time where you can put your whole reality on pause and go inward and create whatever you want, like in this virtual reality headset that you put on for yourself. And what if we normalize, instead of talking shiznit about our past, that we start to talk highly about a future that doesn't exist yet? We start normalizing dream talking versus past talking, something that becomes more normalized. And how we could get that excitement and that adventure of daydreaming and talking about it with our friends versus talking about past stuff that we have no more control over. Can't do anything about it. It's a past, but what you could do is you could go back, reframe it, and audit it. Something that I do with my clients and myself is I take and I do my daily audits. And I go back and I reframe it and I'm like, okay, well, if I could play it like a movie, what could I have done differently for my future? Because patterns keep coexisting until we shapeshift them. What could I go back and change? Or what would I have done different? Or what I have said different? Or maybe I hadn't said anything. Maybe I had held my tongue. That's the power of discernment and wisdom, is knowing when to speak and knowing when not to. Knowing when to share and manage your energy. We talked about the other day, energy management, just like time management or just like a money management. What about energy management? How are you generating your energy, right? Like, who thinks about these things? We think about these things. That's why, you guys are my people. And when you're thinking about, okay, what are movies, games, real life experiences to provide that sense of adrenaline that keeps us engaged and makes us want more? And so everything and anything has a duality. And that's the point of this whole 30 days of building self-worth, 30 days of self-appreciation, is this is your life. And so let's start living it intentionally, and let's start living it you start living it. I'm going to live mine on my terms. And I'm going to share the good juicy with you guys. But what can you do? How can you start to reclaim and create a heaven on earth versus a hell on earth? What can you start to do on a daily basis to start to align with more joy and more harmony and more peace? And the cool thing is, so for those of you that saw my stories last night, thank you so much for all of the love. I literally had no expectation. I wasn't even sure if I was going to post it, but I did, because it's just a part of who I am, and everything is an extension of self. So everything will be projected outside of who I am as a whole. And last night I just felt so whole. And I started to notice, like, when we start to change things, and we start to change the way that we act, we start to change the way that we think, that we change the way that we make decisions, it's scary. Because that means that that's going to change everything. It's going to change our relationships. It's going to change our finances. It's going to change just everything in life is going to change. And although that there's an excitement there, there's also a fear there. And one of the greatest things that will block your blessings is fear. And we talked about the other day of transitioning the anxiety into excitement. And the only difference we do is we take off worry. Do you remember that? We talked about that the other day. If you haven't watched, we're in day 19. If you haven't watched the other episodes, just go back and watch the ones. They're all amazing. And so, when you're getting into the space of finding other things and other experiences that allow you to feel stimulation, you create a toolbox of things that leave you feeling better than feeling worse. But as you start to realize, like, whether you're in a relationship and you're putting other people first because of the fear that they won't want you anymore, or the fear that things are going to change, things are going to change. But I promise you, things are going to change for the better. When you put the wholeness of yourself as priority, everything might feel like it's kind of going backwards in a moment of time, but it just becomes a pruning season. And those things that are removed from your heart, from your mind, from your body, from your life, from your nutrition, from your whatever it may be, it's just so you can actually sprint forward. And that's how the work works. The work does work, but there are going to be times where you have to trust the process, because it will feel like you're going backwards. It will feel like there's a part of a grieving process where you do have to grieve your old self. You grieve your old ways. Remember, truth is recognized. It can't be learned. A lot of people don't talk about the grieving of their past. We're so attached to our past that we keep creating misery for our future because it no longer serves us. It's no longer in harmony with who we're becoming. And so there is a season and there is a time where you are grieving cellular memory releasing, where you are grieving old versions of yourself. Maybe foods that once brought you joy now hurt you, and you were just so numbed out you didn't even realize it. And so you have the memory that that food brought you joy. There's a series that I teach on cravings and desire. It's called Food, Memory, and Attachment. But every time you have it now, it's like when you were a kid. What was your favorite food? Mine was like Oreo Blizzards. It'll be the death of me if I consumed an Oreo Blizzard as a 40-year-old. Like, I'm just saying, it will be the death of me. It will be a very, very miserable day. So I had to learn how to take my favorite food and make it in a healthier way that I can still have something similar, a new experience of something that I once loved, but with healthier ingredients. So I leave the situation, I leave the food feeling good, feeling energized, vitality, having clear skin, having great digestion, great gut health, all intrinsic goals, that I leave feeling better and feeling good versus feeling worse. It's the same thing with people, places, things, conversations, how you're reacting, what you're saying, how you shift a conversation, your energy management. And so it provides a way. Another thing too is when people create, remember this is all about taking ownership over yourself. What's going on, Milani? Is when you are creating reasons to talk about past things that happened, to create drama or that endorphin release, to get that dopamine hit. What happens is it can typically lead to a bonding experience with somebody else. It can lead to a bonding experience because you are both are feeling high. It's like even if you watch people that are talking about something negative or something that you don't want to recreate. I don't want to get my car towed again. But I had 3 conversations where I was getting like hyped. I was like, yeah, and the audacity of them, and they know they're in the wrong because I got pictures and then they moved the screen so I couldn't take it. I'm gonna handle that on Tuesday. You know, like I'm just getting like all high on it, and I'm like, well, I feel bad. Like, why am I talking and sharing conversation? Like, this is counterproducing what I want to do. And I know that there's a time and a moment where you got to catch yourself and be like, it's over. I know what I got to do to move forward on Tuesday. I don't got to talk about it anymore. I don't have to shit talk my past. I can move forward and be productive and efficient for a future. And I can start daydreaming and creating a mind movie on what I'm bringing in, that cognitive consonance that we talked about a few days ago, of every single thought, behavior, decision you make is in alignment and in harmony with who you're striving to be. The issue with a lot of us is that you don't spend time to get intentional or strategic on who do I want to be and what do I have to overcome. And this to be one of them is to no longer create chaos or drama for entertainment or thrill to avoid your peace. You can live life with a regulated nervous system and healthy stimulation and healthy fun and still feel healthy, happy, and whole and stable in your inner world. And create that also for your outer world. Does it take time, effort, energy, work, education, self-awareness, self-honesty? Absolutely. It's the work behind the work. And then you start to see it's like like the outer world just starts to change. The outer world changes, and I'm really happy that recently a lot of science is now backing up a lot of this stuff, where they're talking about the power behind energy frequency and energy resonance. And if you're gonna get addicted to anything, get addicted to your resonance, which is your energy vibration and your energy frequency on an internal level. You ever come across someone, you're like, man, you've got like the best energy, or you come across someone, you're like, oh, you got bad energy. I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna say that. I don't think people that rude. Maybe kids will say that. Kids will always be straight up. They're like, ugh. Like, oh, that I don't want to be around it, or they just don't want to be around it, you know. And so you typically don't want to bond with people anyway in that, on those terms. And people that are involved in their growth anyway, they just need gentle reminders and nudges. Is like, okay, so what do you want to do about it? How do you want to create something better? What can you create for your future? How can we create some structure? And then you want to seek out healthy stimulation and focus on what you're creating as far as like living life on your terms. So this is something really fascinating I'm going to share with you before we wrap up. Is I was doing some research on some things, and they were talking about a stress reward cycle. Have you ever heard of like a stress reward cycle? So it looks like this. You have increased stress or anxiety that leads to a rush that reinforces the cycle. And then you identify triggers and patterns fueling the behavior. So the key to change it is you have to identify the feelings of behavior. One thing that I realized when I've personally got myself into trouble or in this cycle is when you're doing the work, it can become redundant and it can become understimulating and boring. And as I started getting deeper into like cool, like I love what I do because I get to just be like the person behind the curtains. Until recently now I've been more vocal about like this stuff. But like getting to work with such high performing human beings that are operating at high capacity in the business world is so cool. And how they start to really hone in on their personal like human performance, and how the business scales, or relationships like just scale, people funnel out, business in their business, people funnel out. It's like the coolest thing to see. And what happens is like when you start to identify your triggers and patterns fueling the behavior, you get to reflect and audit the situation. We talked about this earlier, as you can go back and do daily audits. I love healthy speed. I teach healthy speed. Healthy speed means like you're consistently growing forward, but without ever having to go backwards. Meaning like it might take a year. Typically this stuff does take a year. But you'll never go backwards in every single year because you built a solid foundation. Think about it as like you're building a skyrise, and that you can only build as high as what your foundation can take on. If the foundation is there's a weak framework, you can only build to the capacity of your framework. So if you are strong mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, you can build to the heavens. You can build as high as you want to build, to the capacity if you want to build. Some people want to stop at level 5. Some people want to keep going at level 10. It's really your decision, and it's really your calling of how obedient you're going to be to your goals, your visions, and your dreams. And so really the message today is about normalizing your dreams versus normalizing your past. And yeah, and that's really what I don't think I want to get into the other stuff. Embrace a new way of thinking, creating new experiences, and you can find excitement and adventure without chaos and abuse. All right, abuse on yourself, abuse on others, and yeah. So that's what today is about, and hopefully you received a lot. I went through a little bit of a TED Talk on you guys that wasn't on here, but the cost of all this is free. Just please go ahead and share these videos if you find value in them with your people, with your friends. And also comment below if you're watching the replay. Leave a comment on one of the greatest takeaways, any type of diamonds that I dropped on today that really kind of like hit you in the heart, or you're maybe thinking about something a little bit differently, or something that you're now going to take with you moving forward. I would love to know. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on day 20. Remember, the biggest thing is setting a goal, and completing it and finishing it is the highest level of reward you'll ever receive, the ever building self-worth, self-appreciation is setting a commitment and following through with it. That's why if you go to TanyaColiver.com/calendar, you have a commitment contract. It's free. Myself and my team had created it, as well as a 90-day accountability. So those moments where you're feeling like it's redundant and it's boring, just think about, how can I have fun with this? How can I enjoy the process? One thing is, on the background, I always have binaural beats, and I have some type of like music, or I'll take breaks, or I'll, take a micro meditation break, or I'll take a break to go get my nails done. But days are either going to be in sprints, they're going to be in walks, some days are going to be crawling. I crawled yesterday, it was a crawling day for me. But you just got to keep moving, keep pushing forward, and audit those days that you do mess up, those days that you catch yourself. Remember, have compassion and grace for yourself. You are a human being, and I love you and I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.